It's going to be a very pink Christmas, so let's go ahead and get started. Hey y'all, welcome back to Dots and Beyond. My name is Beth and today we're setting up December in my personal bullet journal. Now, I did not intend to do a Christmas theme for December, and this may be the only Christmas theme you ever see from me. Now, it also occurred to me that I have not done a scrapbook theme at all this year, and I normally do at least one, and so I have recruited some help from Printables from My Porch Prints on Etsy. I will link their shop down in the description box below because this is not going to be the last you see of some printables from My Porch Prints. I also have these circle stickers that I purchased on Amazon. They came in this pack of 7, and I just kind of numbered them on the back and then numbered the back of each sticker sheet in the pack so that I knew which color story that it belonged in, because there is sort of a color story for these. I've had them for a long time, I just haven't used them yet. And then I also have some pink paper from this small pink paper pad that I picked up at Michael's probably 3 years ago. Pink's really not normally a color story I use, so that's another one of those unusual things that we're going to do today. And of course I have a Tombow tape runner, some washi tape, some stickers that also came from My Porch Prints, but I actually printed them on sticker paper. There's a lot around me. We've also got some stamps, so here we go into Christmas 2022, a very pink Christmas. As I open up the journal, you're going to see that I have done some prep work, and I have done a lot of prep work ahead of this one to make this video go a little faster, but I'm sure you're wondering what this hole is and why it's in the middle of my journal. Well, I decided that I was sort of going to make a snow globe in the middle of my journal, and to make this hole I used this circle craft cutter. I will link it in the description box below with the rest of all of the supplies, and it just cuts circles for you in any kind of paper that you need. There are extra blades here in the bottom. Now, the one thing I do wish is that this top section here was see-through so you could actually center it a little bit better, but I managed to get it placed okay in order to get this hole cut into my journal. I also use this for some other elements that are going to be included in our mock snow globe, so you'll see those circles as we move forward as well. Quick interjection here for those who think that Christmas might be a little bit generic of a theme for me in December. It was not my first choice. I was going to go with a German Krampusnacht theme or a Brighton Burning the Clocks festival theme, but sometimes the universe steps in on our behalf and makes things a little easier for us. And whether you celebrate or not, Christmas is arguably the biggest celebration of the year. Now back to our snow globe construction. I did purchase this Tombow liquid glue in order to paste some of the elements into this journal. It has two ends. One is a wider end and one is a narrower tip, and I felt like I needed this narrower tip to control some of the elements as I was going to be gluing in a circle, and I didn't feel like the Tombow tape runner was going to serve me as well or hold as well. So we're going to go ahead and use this Tombow to paste this picture of the Christmas tree behind this circle. This is my first time using the Tombow liquid glue, and what I like about it is that it does dry fairly quickly, but not fast enough to keep you from being able to maneuver things. So I was able to get this tree maneuvered into the exact position that I needed, and then within 30 seconds to a minute, this was pretty well bonded. Now we are going to put another piece of paper here on the back to cover up the back of this Christmas tree. I did clean things up with a tissue just to make sure there was no extra glue that was going to stick to the page, and then moved on to the rest of the elements. Because this is a scrapbook style, there is a lot of measuring, cutting, and gluing. I did leave this in so you could see my process and how I then round the corners with my corner rounder. I do edit a lot of this out for you throughout the videos to make it a lot shorter. For the front of our snow globe, we are going to use some vellum, which I cut using the same craft circle cutter, and I am just going to paste it directly over our Christmas tree, but we do have a little something that we need to put inside first. I am sure that some fake snow or glitter or small confetti would actually make a perfect snow globe, but the harebrained scheme for the snow globe came from all of these little plastic circles. Now y'all know I have a problem with stencils. I had to find a way to start storing my stencils where they didn't stick to one another, and my solution was to put them in rings in these plastic sleeves, and I had to punch out every single hole in each one of these sleeves, and that is where all of my little round plastic confetti came from, and such the harebrained scheme to use them to make a snow globe. And since this is a very pink Christmas, I decided to be a little extra, and I actually made a very thin gouache pink and iridescent white mixture, rolled these around in it for a little bit, dumped them out on a paper towel to let them dry, and some of the pink actually did adhere to these, which I was surprised, but they did. And we are just going to go ahead and pour most of these into our snow globe and then glue this vellum over the top. It's going to take a little bit for it to set, and I really don't let go of it until it is ready to go. And then we're going to paste down this ring that we also made using the craft circle cutter just to clean up those edges and make it look a little neater. Now I'm not going to put any sort of a snow globe base on this. I could have done that. I'm just going to do some collage sort of things around it, and it actually turns out much better than I anticipated. Every time I do a scrapbook style, I get lots of questions about the background print paper and that sort of thing. And in this instance, everything did come from that one Etsy shop, My Porch Prints, including that poinsettia that is there on the right. I just fussy cut it out of the background paper that you see on the left in order to use it by itself. I am going to frame part of this cover page with some washi tape. This one on the top with the stripes I've always felt like looked like a Christmas package and have never used it for anything. I bought it at Michael's years ago. I do not think it's available anymore. And this pink one here on the bottom came from Archer and Olive in a sub box. I add in some of those circle stickers I showed you at the beginning, a couple of more stickers from My Porch Prints, and then our little snow globe cover page is finished, or sort of finished. I do add a bunch of things off camera because I felt like there was too much white space, and so it does have a little bit more zhuzh to it than it does here in the video, but other than that, you mostly get the idea. Moving on to the next spread, which is going to be a calendar and a gift list. My calendar is going to be fairly minimal. I am taking 11 to 14 days of December off, which I'm very excited about. But we are going to go ahead and reinforce this page to cover up the back of our snow globe and make it a little bit stronger. I do have some other pre-made elements like this calendar, which I used making an Archer and Olive notepad with the craft paper. And then I just wanted to show you guys how I stamp out some items and how I measure those. So I have just made a little straight line on this pink paper, and every centimeter I put a little tick and a little note to myself as to what letter goes there so that I can get those mostly evenly spaced. They don't necessarily have to be perfect at all. I use this same method for that calendar as well as all of my headers. To finish off my list of dates and tasks, I'm just going to use this dot marker from Shuttle Art to make those dots, erase my lines, and then start putting the elements down on the page. Once I had decided on all of my pre-made elements, this one actually took me about an hour and a half to film, and that was probably 45 minutes of actual work and 45 minutes of indecision and peeling the backs off of stickers because I'm very bad at it. So there was a lot that I edited out that really was just dead air time on camera instead of me actually doing something productive. So once the elements were all made and ready to go and cut out, which I wager would probably have taken me about an hour, the rest of the setup and putting it all together took about 45 minutes. One of the elements of the paper pack were gift tags of various sizes, so I did decide to cut out one of the large ones, hole punch it, and stick a little bit of string in it. Now I am using a brown micron instead of a black, if you can see here, to match my stamps and to make the lines and stuff that I'm using here with the pink a little bit softer. This round piece of paper is the inside of the ring that I used to frame the snow globe. So waste not, want not, use every little piece that we can so that we're not wasting paper. And then I did decide to stick a little piece of washi tape on my gift tag, pointing that string up to the top so it can sort of act as a bookmark and I can always find my gift page. And we're ready to move on to the next spread, which is going to be my habit tracker and wellness tracker. One hot tip as I start adding things into the screen here, once you've decided which elements are going to go on which spread, I have everything stacked to the right of me off camera in the order that I intended to use it so that I could find everything that I needed. I did make some changes along the way, but it does make it a little bit easier to find what you're looking for when you have all of these different elements to use. I have yet to decide what habits I'm going to be tracking, so I will fill those in a little later, but that habit tracker was just made with a brown Pigma Micron and that same pink dot pen to indicate where the dates will be. And on the right, I have a wellness tracker. I've touched on most of these thus far, but here are the supplies that I'm using in addition to the Archer and Olive craft paper. I have the brown Pigma Micron. I also have an Archer and Olive white gel pen, which came in the sub box for December 2021. To track the wellness tracker, I'm going to use this Tombow 703 pink for the sleep and steps tracker, which will be in a bar graph version. I can just use the wide point of the brush tip to make that bar graph, and then I'll use the brown Pigma Micron to do a line graph of mood and water over top of those. I admit in the back half of this year I have not done a great job of keeping up with my trackers, so that's one of my goals for 2023 is to do a better job of that in my journal. And with just a few more elements stuck in place, that will wrap up this tracker spread, and we will move on to my weekly setup. Now, I wanted to keep my weeks and daily logging as minimal as possible, and that meant pushing the decorations to the edges. So I have gone ahead and cut out Dutch doors. Now, a Dutch door is where you just trim a little bit out of your journal. I then round the corners with this corner rounder to make it match the rounded corners of the journal. And of course I keep that cut out paper in my paper stash. Now I both stamped in headers and made pink headers because I wasn't sure which one I was going to want the most until I got in here and got to looking at it. I think I am going to go with these pink headers and cover up the stamped headers that I put in previously. I originally cut these side pieces thinking my Dutch doors would be a perfect half page, and then I decided to make them a little wider. So I do need to trim these side pages. So I am just marking where that needs to be, getting out my trusty paper cutter and just making those a little bit smaller so that we can have our two side pieces, one on the left and one on the right. To give the page a little bit of zhuzh and sparkle, I do have these 3 thin metallic pink washi tapes. They came in the same set as that striped washi tape that looks like a package, so it was purchased at Michael's quite some time ago. And I do just want to run them across the top of each one of the weekly pages, and then I'll also extend it across the top of the right background paper as well, just so that it looks like one solid line all the way across the page. With the washi tape on the page, I do add in some additional stickers, some of the circles, some of the other elements that I have around. You do see a little bit of my indecision trying to figure out where I wanted to put that Santa, just to brighten up the page a little bit, make it a little bit more interesting, and yet leave me plenty of room here on the weeklies to write as much as I need. If you look really closely, you might see little pencil marks where I've sort of indicated to myself how much space I may have per day, just to kind of keep me in check. And we're ready to move on to the last spread in this setup, which is going to be a review and reflection page. And here is my pile of supplies. While digital paper packs are great and you get to print them yourselves, you do have to kind of weed through what's going to work for you and what's not going to work for you. I certainly did not print everything from the paper pack that I got, or I would have just had way too much to work with. So I looked through the things digitally to try to decide what would work best for me. And then I tried to only print out what I would need. Now on this review page, I'm going to leave this spot fairly open, and that is because I have returned to this doodly style world in review for big moments of the month, and this is November so far. I obviously haven't finished filling it in, but that's what this page will be used for, is that same sort of doodly style. On the right will be my personal reflection page, and I'm going to put down some more of that poinsettia paper from the cover, and I had a little bit of trouble getting it stuck down. But behind it is one of these pages that doesn't necessarily open all the way, and I have learned that I can run my fake fingernail up and down that spine to get that page to open fully and make it a much more useful page for me. So I just decided to leave that into this edit so that y'all could see how I deal with those pages. I then brought back that pink metallic package washi tape, and I put 2 rows of it here on the left, lining up those stripes so it looks like a much wider washi tape than the original. And then I'm going to place 3 of these craft cutouts for me to have reflection spots. Like the habit trackers, I haven't quite figured out what my reflection questions are going to be for this last month of the year, but that will wrap up my spread for December. So let's go ahead and flip back to the beginning so we can see this setup in a full flip through. It all started with a harebrained snow globe idea, and this actually was the most complicated part of my setup, but once all the elements were cut out and ready to go, this really wasn't that complicated to put together. You could certainly recreate this pretty simply and probably with an easier material than a bunch of little plastic circles. I do love the way this snow globe turned out, and I just encourage you that if you get some crazy idea of something you want to do in your bullet journal, just go ahead and give it a try and see if it's going to work. If you have made it this far in the video, leave me any kind of a pink emoji down in the comments below, as I know not everyone celebrates Christmas. And down in those comments, let me know what you think my overarching theme for 2023 is going to be. Yes, I have picked one. Come back on Thursday as you'll get a little sneak peek of what that theme will be as I do my journal lineup for the year, and then on Friday will be my 2023 setup. We are not quite ready to say goodbye to Tamasha, who is this journal, yet, as I will also do a year in review spread as well as a Spotify wrapped spread sometime in the next few weeks. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and consider subscribing below as we have 25 days of Planmas coming your way beginning December 1st. If you missed any of the bullet journal setups from my year of festivals and celebrations, I'll leave a link to that playlist in the description box below. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.